Principle 5, be skillful. As far as ball control skills go, the next thing we want to talk about is controlling the direction the ball flies. So we talked about solid striking with the divot and center face contact. Right now we're going to talk about what influences the direction the ball goes. So if we wanted to help you at home get more skillful, how would you have folks go through that?
Yeah, the easiest way to go about this would be to start focusing on the club face. So the club face actually determines where your ball starts. Sorry, it's a little bit muddy. So if your club face is closed or pointed to the left, the ball will start to the left. If the club face is open or pointed to the right, the ball is going to start to the right. If the face is square or pointed at the target, that ball is going to start straight. It doesn't mean that's where it's going to end up. That just means where it's going to start. So what we have to do here initially is start to run some experiments with the club face and figure out maybe what you need to do at home to start controlling the direction of your golf ball.
There you go. So we know for a fact the reason the ball starts to the left is because the club face is to the left.
You got it.
And then it starts to the right because the face is pointing to the right.
Yep.
Now, when we go through this, there's a lot of different ways to control the club face, and there's no one right way. There's a lot of different ways. What you have to figure out is, with knowing those rules, face here, ball goes there, face the other way, ball goes the other way, is what helps you the most. So we definitely want to start with the club face first, as Ben had said. Where would you start if we wanted to talk about the club face? Where would you have them start?
Experimentation. So very similar to what we did with the divot and center face contact. So what we're going to do is we're going to run experiments to see what happens when. So per the book, it states you're going to basically try to get the club face slightly open, moderately open, severely open, slightly closed, moderately closed, severely closed, and you're just going to observe what happens. So don't be alarmed if maybe you're trying to get the club face moderately closed and the ball just keeps going straight, or the ball starts going where you want it to. That's okay. It doesn't mean that you got it wrong. You just uncovered what you need to do to be successful on that day.
To control the direction of the ball.
Yep, you got it.
Being more skillful at moving the club face around,
yep.
Yes? That is really the art of the deal. You can control that club face. You will be shocked what that will do for your golf game. All right, so when you say slight, moderate, severe, how would you go about doing that? And when should they do this? Earlier in the swing, later in the swing?
Whenever the hell you want. That's the beauty of it, right? So it doesn't really matter to us when you're trying to do this in the swing, but let's maybe shed some light on a few ideas that you could use at home, right? So I think in our world, everybody always talks about how you have to hold the club a certain way, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that there's a perfect grip out there. Well, we don't necessarily agree with that. We would say there's a perfect grip out there for you, but it might not match somebody else's, right? So the grip is ultimately going to influence what the face does at impact. So if I rotate my hands leftward on this grip, that makes the club face go more rightward at impact. If I rotate both of my hands to the right on the grip, that's going to make the club face go more left at impact. And then there's all this in-between area. So playing around with your grip is one way that you can either open or close the club face at impact.
Yeah. So
what's another way you got?
Well, I tell you what, before we get on to the next way, I'm going to show you. So George, if you come over here, Ben, put your hands on there severely to your right, or strong grip. So check this out. So when you swing the club freely in a circle around you and centrifugal force pulls outward, so I'm going to pull on this. George, if you come over here, you'll be able to see which way this club face goes. So Ben has his hands rotated well to the right, and centrifugal force is going to pull outward. The face goes left. So that's why the grip influences the club face. Now he's moved his hands way over to the right, and I pull outward a little bit, and then the face goes wide open. So if you're not getting directional control of your ball, you could start with the grip and just understand why that influences it versus focus on getting the right one. Because like Ben had said, there is no one grip for everybody. Everybody moves differently, so on and so forth. So having said that, after you experiment and explore the grip, slight, moderate, severe, more to your right, more to your left, you'll find out which one's going to help you. Secondly, after that, where I would go is, Ben, if you hold that club out in front of you like this, and I were to ask you from there to open the face more, whoop, the face goes open. And then every time we do this with folks that come to see us at B Golf, they all do the same thing. People know how to open the face. You don't have to tell them. Now close the face. So kind of like a windshield wiper. So you can open it more, close it more. So experiencing this through the motion, yeah?
Yeah, and just like we talked about before, it doesn't matter when you do it. So, if you want to feel that happening as you initiate the downswing or somewhere near impact, it doesn't matter to us. Play around with both and just see what happens.
Yeah, so just opening the face more and closing the face more through the motion. You could do it sooner, you could do it later. Find out what works for you you're going to have to understand how that club face controls the direction that ball starts. Yeah?
Yeah. Yep.
Very good. So we have the grip you could play with.
Yep.
Opening it more, closing it more. What's a third way you could talk about?
This next way is a little bit more dangerous, but it's going to influence the club face a whole bunch. Okay. And it's what you're doing with your lead wrist. So with the lead wrist, the more we flex it, that's this way, or some might call it bowing, the more it
Closes it.
closes the club face at impact. The more you extend the lead wrist, or some might call it cupping, the more it opens the club face at impact. This one will influence the club face a whole bunch. I would maybe run this one last.
Right.
I think the first two, what you're going to notice, are much easier solutions, but if you're still having troubles with club face, playing around with flexion or extension is another very easy way to influence what that club face is going to do at impact.
Yeah. So in all three of our examples, they all have to do with the
hands.
The money makers, baby. Right? So you're going to play with your grip. Play with opening it more, closing it more, and then you can mess with the lead wrist, flex it more, cup it more, if you will. And then you're going to have to play with slight, moderate, severe to get that to go down. Having said that, there is one more way that we could play with this, and it's just trying to get the ball to do something. So how many times at B-Golf have you seen people come in and you just try to get them to start more left, and all of a sudden the ball goes left?
Yeah.
They're not really focused on the swing as much as just the intention of what to do with the
direction.
ball.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, so you got a ball here. We're on the golf course. It's a beautiful morning. Which one do you want to try first?
Let's just go ahead and start with closed. So I'm just going to try to get the club face slightly closed, and I'm going to do it through sensing the face rotate, or sensing my hands rotate.
All right, very good. So committing to one thing is just sensing the club face or your hands rotate,
Sensing the club face rotate, yep.
Okay. So you're able to stay committed to that intention?
That is true.
Very good. And then relative to the white line, where do you think it started?
Intention and reality kind of matched up there. So I would say that it started a little left.
Yeah. Very good. So did you try a slight amount of that, a moderate amount of that? How much did you try?
Slight amount. So slight equaled slight there.
Okay.
Which is kind of cool.
Good. All right. So if the ball's the teacher, you're going to use that feedback to make adjustments. What will you do next?
I'm just going to be playful here. So I'm not really necessarily maybe trying to make an adjustment. I'm just going to do something different here. So I'm going to try to hold the club face slightly open this time as opposed to slightly closed. And we're just going to see what happens.
Aha. And you're able to
slightly right.
Yeah, pretty much. How about that? So now on this next one, go somewhere, or back to the Goldilocks training, somewhere in between, or what you feel like is just right.
So just so you know, my in between here, I'm just going to swing it freely. So I'm just going to not try to control the face, because when I try to go open, it went right. When I try to go close, it went left. So now I'm just going to let this thing go and see what happens.
Aha.
And that one started straight.
Okay. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. So when you go to the range, play with these things, pay attention to the club face, run the experiments, and we guarantee you're going to learn something. You will stumble across what's going to help you. And it's very, very important to know is what helps you may not help somebody else. So everybody's different, everybody's unique, hence the experimentation, and then the 4 different ways that you could experiment with to find out what gives you better directional control.
Mm-hmm.
All right, very good. Develop your skills. Anything you want to add before we move on?
The last thing that we could add to this is, starting to play around with the path of the golf club and running experiments with that as well. We talked about the face-path relationships in the book. So continuing to understand those and actually playing around with the direction of the swing is going to influence the direction of the golf ball a significant amount as well.
So face first.
Yeah, always face first.
And then the path.
Yeah.
And then the path.
One thing Chad and I will always tell you is if you never messed with the path, you'll be fine. If you can control the face, you can ultimately control where the ball ends up. The path is going to influence which direction the ball curves. But if you're looking to hit the Staples easy button, just stick with the face.
Yes. Well, so since we're out here, show us as far as the club path. Mm-hmm. And then if somebody did need to shift the path, what would you have them do?
Have them play around with different directions in the swing, right?
Okay.
So Chad, if you could just hold on to that for a second. So one of the things that we would do when we're playing around with the club path is you might lay a couple different clubs down. One is going to represent a rightward swing direction, one's a neutral swing direction, then we have a leftward swing direction. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to play around with swinging the weight of the golf club in different directions. So if I wanted to swing to the right, I'm going to sense the weight of the golf club being swung on this golf club right here, moving in a rightward fashion.
So swinging freely, just happening to shift the direction of the swing.
Yep, shifting it to the right.
Got it.
And then this outside club here represents a more leftward swing direction, so it's almost like chopping down a tree. Club is being swung that direction. And then I have my in-between zone.
Go to your in-between zone. Do a couple with some rhythm. So back to the free swingy motion. So give us 2 with each.
Here's neutral.
Good. Now
here's right.
Shift it right.
Here's left. It's fairly easy to do as long as you're keeping your attention on the weight of the golf club and you're not trying to contort your body in a whole bunch of different positions to try to make the club do something.
Right. So we can't tell you how many times people come see us. They think they have a path problem, and then they try to go about it positionally, and it doesn't work. And when we get them swinging freely in different directions, they find out they can. So back to being adaptable, being skillful. It's as simple as swinging the weight in some different directions, and that's as far as the path goes.
Yep.
And then, so as far as the ball goes, would you have folks play with the slight, moderate, severe continuum and see what happens?
Absolutely. So there's a whole bunch of in-between zones here, right? Boom, boom, boom. You can go a lot of different directions with this. And so be playful.
Yeah, be playful and mess around with it. Don't try to be perfect. That's where good golf games go to die, so don't do that. And then we know from TrackMan that it's a matter of degrees here or there, right?
Yeah,
so it's like very, very, very small adjustments. In some cases, you have to go severe, but the little bit goes a long way. So playing with the path this way. Okay, face first, path second. Experimentation's the name of the game as far as being skillful.
Yep.
All right, very good.
Some other just words of caution here. What we notice each and every day is typically when people come see us, they love to adjust the path first. Here's the problem with adjusting the path first. The face likes to go with it.
Yes.
So if you notice that you are swinging way left, and then you try to swing to the right without making a face adjustment, don't be surprised if your ball goes off the property to the right.
Yes. Yeah, and that's a conundrum for folks, right?
Yeah.
So the golf instructor world says you have to shift the path right, but if they don't deal with the face, it's not going to work, and people come to us frustrated because of that. But it's logical as to why it happens.
Yep.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. So face first, path left. Path left. Okay, enjoy this. Keep up your training, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon.